So then one of the next steps I have for this project is I have to clean up and refurbish a lot of parts that have been rusted out over time. So I'm slowly gathering all my parts, and what I'm doing is I'm checking to see which ones haven't been blasted or cleaned off yet, like support pieces like this that need to be rust removed, and check to make sure there's no severe pitting to where I can't reuse it or I have to order it. And luckily the guy before me, he had a sandblaster, so he cleaned off a lot of these parts really nicely. My issue is I don't have a sandblaster yet, so I'm working on that. What I'm doing right now is I have a couple other things going. I have a ton of hardware that needs to be just redone in my expensive double bubble bucket that I stole from the previous owner. But what I've been doing is I've got a tumbler here. I've just been throwing in a pretty good amount of bolts, one at a time, pulling them out and cleaning them. They're doing pretty good actually. So this is just after 2 hours, and what I'll do is I'll go back in with those thick threads there, and I'll clean them up with my wire brush over here. And that's another thing I'm doing is I'm going through the bigger parts and I'm cleaning them up with the wire brush. I'll give them a little coat of WD-40 and then find a way to store them. Once I'm done with cleaning them all off, I'm going to end up organizing all of them and putting like bolts with like bolts, etc. I also have a little bit of electrolysis going on down here as well, since I don't have the sandblaster. So this is a good way to get rust off too. Lots of tutorials out there, not super crazy science. But for now, that's about it until I move and I'll have a little bit more space to do some more work. But for now, just scratching away at all these little bolts and refurbing as much as I can and keeping myself busy. So here's the end result for this. What I was scraping off was kind of like it's not iron oxide, it's like an iron carbonate. It just kind of sticks onto the metal after you put it through the wash. And it's really easy to scrape off. Here's the here's the other piece I haven't done yet, and you can just, they're both about the same conditions, so you can see how well this process actually works. One good thing it did was it got off all of this stuck on paint. You can see there's paint underneath there, and it looks like some rust was coming up over top of it, so it got rid of all of that. Now this process takes a long time, but because my schedule doesn't really let me sit with a blaster all week, I only get about a couple hours on the weekends to work on this. This is really nice because I can just set this in the tub over there and just let it hang out, because I could let it hang out for 2 or 3 days and it's not going to destroy the actual iron like it would if it was in acid or something along those lines. It also allows me to work on other projects and not have to worry about it. Finally got my parts, well, some of them back from the zinc coaters. Now it's kind of interesting. I'm looking, they have like almost like a rainbow sheen to them. You can't really tell. It's better. I find this to be a little bit better than paint. I'm actually going to kind of do a stripping test on it just to see how well they hold up to any type of friction, because I'm worried about a little bit of those little fine threads and stuff getting in there. I will say the majority of this stuff got really clean because I did a chemical bath on it. However, I did notice that some things, if they were absolutely clean, it didn't quite get all of that dust and debris and dirt out of the threads. Which is okay. One of my big things with this is, so that's not a very good looking one. So I didn't scrutinize these super heavy. And one of the reasons is it just would have taken me too much time rather than throwing them all in a bucket and just delivering them over to the chemical coatings. But there are some like this bolt here that are kind of chewed up around the top, and I couldn't get in there and clean off all of the dirt and rust. This one's okay, it's not like too awful, but as I go, I'll be looking through these as I install them, and I'll have to toss certain ones that really just don't keep up. These
came out really good, which is very surprising. Let's see. These little interior screws, absolutely fantastic. And I do have a buffing wheel. I'm curious to see if this zinc will buff up, because I know like the typical zinc will kind of shine up. So I'm going to give them a little bit of a abusive treatment, and we'll see what happens with them. It'll kind of give me a good indication of how strong this zinc coating actually is. So I did a lot of parts too. Like this one came out exceptionally well. And then there's some other ones where the rust is still kind of just coming through in little spots. But overall, it's fine. If I wanted to spray hit them with a little bit of paint, I'd be totally fine to do that. Maybe you can see the rainbow sheen on these door shims here. But I know that these are not going to rust. Not immediately anyways. Yeah, that's like almost a brand new part. That's excellent. Did a really good job on these. I think when I go to pull off the other ones, I will probably do the same thing. Bring them in, have them cleaned up. What I was really curious was, let me see if I can find something that was pretty heavily rusted in here. So this one's not the greatest. You can see the rust coming through. Just the zinc just won't stick through it because it's an electrocoat. So rust obviously doesn't conduct electricity, so it didn't penetrate there very well. But I think like a quick shot of paint will take care of that. I also did a few moving parts as well. Look at that here. I don't even know how they put it in there. And this is really cool. This is the support for the hood, and you can see it's got like a little bit of a rainbow sheen on it too. But I was curious to see how well these would actually coat, and for the most part, it looks really nice. Because I didn't think that these would actually coat. It's kind of just threw it in there as a little experiment. Just do it all in a big batch. This one down here is not moving too well. Oh, there it goes. So yeah, never mind. That's just fine. We'll lube that up a little bit, and man, it's gonna be nice. It's actually bent. That's why it's not moving very well. That's better. But yeah, it's really nice for. I think it cost me about $240 to get all of these done. The quality that these, like here's a heavily rusted part here. You can see all the pitting. I'd say these are very reusable, and I'm extremely happy with these coatings. Very aesthetically pleasing, and everything that's not going to be clean is going to be protected. And I don't have to go out and spend hundreds, if not thousands of dollars on new hardware and new brackets. This is for the blinkers. There's side markers here. And these are just rusted to hell. You can see all the pitting in there, but you could just throw this back up there and it'd be perfectly fine. Actually, it's super good work there. Powder coating, they all look absolutely phenomenal. Some of these parts I ain't gonna end up reusing, and some of them are kind of pitted. I don't think it's killing the integrity of probably about 90% of them, but as I go, I'll probably end up replacing and throwing them away. But some of these parts, like the brace here, for example, for the seat belts, and this bracket here for the convertible top, these cost like, some of them range from $30 to like 120. I've seen some go for like 400 to 500 just because they're so rare. And I have so many parts now that I think cleaning these off and bringing them into powder coating was super worth it. Over the last couple of weeks, I was also able to separate the back body from this bird cage. Now this is the really shitty one. The bird cage, it's not in the worst condition. I've seen some really bad ones online, but this is unacceptable. And these it was on their way to just becoming a catastrophe here. But I think that's okay, because what I learned from taking this apart will help me in the future. And I think that's something that individuals who might not have the ability or perhaps the opportunity to buy a completely broken one like this at a lower price. I say lower price, I joke. If they can't buy these at a lower price, they don't have the opportunity to learn how to separate these. So what I learned was the rockers and the kickers here are completely joined to the floor along the bottom. So I did as much as I could to preserve these as best as possible, because I wanted to have the practice and learn how to do it in the future whenever I start working on another one. They all came off really well, and I'll be able to reuse those parts, maybe splice them together, etc. This firewall for this car was absolute trash. I came in and I noticed that this piece of steel here, this sheet metal, it was molded in between the fiberglass on the firewall and the fiberglass on the floor. So this had been completely cut out and broken at some point. You can see the old fiberglass work here. So this firewall is completely unusable. However, I think most everything is in its factory location. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use it for mock-ups whenever I go to rebuild the go to put the whole car back together. So like here's the accelerator right here, for example. So I can use that, and when I do the LS swap, I can come in here with whether I'm going to do throttle by wire, throttle by cable, and rebuild everything and see where some things were. Just kind of use it as a mock-up, which is good, because I can drill on it and hammer on it and cut it up, and it really doesn't matter because it's a piece of shit. So I do have a couple good firewalls, and I have another parts car that I did purchase. It's right down the road. I should get it in a couple weeks, but we're also in the middle of a move. You can see my wonderful U-Haul trailer right here. This is the second one that we've been filling. And they're actually pretty cheap if you are going to be moving anytime soon. My garage will be the last thing to move, but once that's absolutely complete, I'll be able to move the other car in, tear it apart, and of course I'll record it, and I'll actually have a lot more room and a lot more freedom to work. In the meantime, this will be one of the other projects. So this is one of the 5.3s that I got. This little junkyard 5.3 iron block. Yeah, I bore scoped it before I bought it, and I only bought it for like $500. It's actually really good considering that it's in excellent condition. There's still cross hatching on the cylinders on the inside. The guy I bought it from, he was a pretty honest dude. So what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to tear this apart, see how salvageable it is, then clean it up, slap it back together, and I'm going to use it as my mock-up. And then if I can figure out how to boost the car, this will be good for building a kit off of. And I'm just going to blow it up because it's $500 and who cares. So that'll be the next step in the project. So I would look for maybe the engine teardown next, and then disassembly of the next 69 bet. And by the time I'm done with all this, I'll have 2 vehicles, an old 350, and hopefully a transmission kit and an engine that I can start actually rebuilding this project.